Hey guys, welcome to Mad Scientist Barbecue. I'm Jeremy Yoder, and today we're going to be doing something a little different. We will be using a smoker, but we're making a dessert. Today we're making burnt Basque cheesecake. If you guys want to see exactly how I made this awesome Basque cheesecake, custard-like texture in the middle, excellent. I want to show you every step of the way, but I want to tell you about how I consume almost every dessert in my life. That is with a nice cup of coffee. That's why I want to tell you about today's sponsor, Trade. It is the #1 coffee destination in the United States for both hot and cold coffee drinkers. I can speak for myself and for my wife. We both love the coffee that we get from Trade. My wife loves Joe Coffee so much, now she's dead set on actually going to Joe Coffee and trying it there. Now, if you're like me this morning, kind of sleep deprived because I was up late last night cooking barbecue, or you just love coffee like I do, Trade allows you to curate the coffees that you will appreciate the most. Their team of expert baristas, tasters, and Q-graders use real coffee knowledge to match you with coffees you'll love. They curate over 500 coffees so you can try something new every delivery. Trade has spent over a decade building relationships with over 55 top coffee roasters from across the US, so you get access to coffees you otherwise wouldn't be able to get. Each bag is roasted to order and delivered fresh to your door, with prices comparable to the grocery store, but cafe-level quality in every cup. Take Trade's quick quiz or browse the different collections, and keep in mind they have a first bag guarantee. So if your first bag isn't up to your liking, they'll replace it for free as part of their first bag guarantee policy. So whether you're a cold coffee drinker or a hot coffee drinker, Trade is guaranteed to have something that you'll like. Right now, Trade is offering up to 30% off new coffee subscriptions at drinktrade.com/BBQ. That's drinktrade.com/BBQ for up to 30% off your first subscription. Check it out. The cool thing about this recipe is that it only requires 5 basic ingredients: cream cheese, eggs, cream, sugar, and then if you want, you can add a little bit of salt and a little bit of vanilla, maybe even some lemon zest, but those 5 basic ingredients are things you probably have around or they're easy to find. I'm gonna put the recipe in the description below, so if you have any questions, go check that recipe. But the first thing I'm gonna do is start with the cream cheese. I've let this warm up to room temperature, that's very important, and I'm gonna be mixing this by hand. You can use a KitchenAid mixer or something like that, but you want to avoid getting air into the mix, because if you do, it's gonna ruin the texture. So I'm gonna do it by hand, even though it's a lot harder. First, I'm gonna start with the cream cheese, 1,000 grams. And I'm gonna be weighing all the ingredients with a ThermoWorks Gravitas scale. And the cool thing about this is that I can show you guys with the auto-rotating display exactly what the weights are. So first things first, the cream cheese. And if you have an oversized bowl, it doesn't matter because you can remove the display. It will magnetically stick to whatever you wanna put it on, or you can just put it on the table in front of you. All right, 1,000.7. Close enough for me. We want to make sure that this cream cheese is room temp, so it's easy to get it to kind of turn into a liquid when you start mixing it up. If you do it cold, you can trap air in there and then you're going to have kind of a bubbly, frothy mess. You want to avoid that if at all possible. And if your cream cheese is not warm enough, you can put it in the microwave for 20 seconds, mix it together, put it back in for 20 seconds, and so on until it reaches room temp, about 70 degrees. If you get to about 70 degrees, then you're ready to make this recipe. Next up, we need 400 grams of sugar. 400 grams. Now I'm gonna mix it up by hand. If you try to do this with the whisk attachment in a KitchenAid, you're gonna get a bunch of air in there and you want to avoid that. Next, we're gonna add 500 milliliters of heavy cream. Now, 7 eggs, added 1 at a time, left to come up to room temperature. You can get a smoother texture if you use an immersion blender, but then again, you risk getting a bunch of air bubbles in there and frothing up the egg whites, and you kind of have a weird texture in your cheesecake. I prefer little specks of not completely mixed cream cheese, but the denseness that I want, but it's up to you, your choice. 1. So once this first egg gets incorporated, I can start adding the second, third, fourth, all the way through the 7th. And I should say, you might think that this Basque cheesecake recipe is something that's an ancient tradition handed down for hundreds of years, but actually it was invented relatively recently, I think just a couple decades ago, at a place called La Viña in San Sebastian, Spain. And it was so amazing and so popular that it spread all throughout the world There are people making it all over the place. I decided I wanted to do it on a smoker because I'm generally not a fan of desserts cooked on a smoker, but this cooks so hot and so fast, it's basically a wood-fired oven rather than a smoker, so it shouldn't be smoky, but we should be able to get a convection oven type effect, which this cheesecake does best with if we use a smoker and run a lot of air through it and burn a very clean fire. So I think this is going to be amazing. Bag number 2. Number 7. Now, if you're seeing this and thinking, that looks kind of like custard, you're right. What you want is the outside layer to be kind of a firm texture, kind of what you would associate with regular cheesecake. But the inside, you want it to be soft like a custard. And you guys will see what I'm talking about here at the end. And we're going to be able to measure temps and make sure we get that brown top and the inside like custard, and it is oh so good. Now we need 30 grams of flour. We want to use the flour to thicken it up just a little bit so it has some structure. So 30 grams is not a lot, basically 1 ounce of flour. I'm gonna sift it through here, and I can be sure that I'm adding 30 grams because I have my handy dandy Gravitas Precision Kitchen Scale. So right now we're at 0.0 grams, I'm gonna add 30. 30.2, good enough. I don't wanna work this very much, I just want to incorporate it. Once I get the last bits of this flour incorporated, I'm gonna take this and put it in the fridge to allow any of those air bubbles to come out, and very importantly, to allow the temperature of this to drop. Right now it's about 70 degrees, but I wanna put it in the fridge to get it down to a refrigerator temperature of 36 degrees or 40 degrees, something like that. The center of this to be less cooked than the outsides and the top. That's what gives it that beautiful contrast in texture. So that's what makes this kind of cheesecake truly special. You get great flavor on the top and then awesome texture in the middle, and you have that richness from the egg. 2 teaspoons vanilla extract. I like to use the real vanilla extract. You can use vanilla bean if you want, actually. My wife says vanilla. I say vanilla. How do you guys say it? Now it's smelling real good. So even here, we start to see some bubbles. We want to get as many of those out as possible. And if you do this on a stand mixer, you'll probably have more bubbles. And some of the cream cheese can kind of stick to the sides and doesn't really get incorporated well. So this is a lot more work, but I think you get better results. And now a pinch of salt. Or if you watched, I think it's Donnie Brasco, a punch of salt. So not very much, just a little bit. You don't want to make it salty, but you want just enough salt to kind of complement the richness and the sweetness of the sugar and the cream cheese that you've added. So not a ton, just a little bit. And lastly, just a little lemon zest. Not required, I just like it. And that's it. Okay, we got this covered. We're gonna put it in the fridge for an hour or 2 to get that internal temp down and let any of the air bubbles come to the surface, because we wanna try to remove as much air as possible. We're gonna get our parchment paper, our cheesecake tin, the like 10-inch springform pan, and we're gonna pour it in, and we're gonna cook this on the smoker. Now you might be thinking, what about the crust? The beauty of Basque cheesecake is you don't need a crust. So incredibly simple. All you have to do is monitor temperatures, and we're gonna talk more about that in a minute. All right, guys, this has been in the fridge for about 2 hours. And so we're going to wait for the fireworks. All right, we've had this in the fridge for about 2 hours. It's nice and cool. We're gonna put it through the sieve to get out any clumps. It's not necessary, but it just helps with the texture, keeping it more consistent. We have a greased pan and then some parchment paper that goes on the top, and you leave a little bit of excess. It's just how it is. But no crust, that's why it's one of the easiest kind of cheesecakes to make. So let's get it started. Okay, now onto the smoker at 400 degrees. Because we do probably 400 degrees convection in a regular oven, maybe up to 420, depending on your oven. But for this, we're gonna start at 400. If necessary, we'll go a little bit hotter. We might have to rotate it every, 7 to 10 minutes or so. In the past, I've done videos where I use the griddle and people are saying, oh, your griddle's warping, all the grease is running to one side. If you guys take a look at this cheesecake, and ignore the fireworks, people love to celebrate. If you look at this cheesecake, you'll see that all of it's running to one side. Why? Because this concrete pad isn't built completely level, so that water runs from one end to the other. So in order to deal with that, we'll rotate it every 7 to 10 minutes, and it's gonna help us get even browning because the airflow is moving only one direction in the smoker. As with offset smokers, that's how it works. So let's put it on. Rock and roll. If any cheesecake deserves fireworks, it's this one. It's been just over 10 minutes. Let's take a peek. Starting to get some color, but nothing's burning yet. Let's keep going. 20 minutes in, let's check again. Starting to get some color, starting to rise, which is what we expect to see. Let's keep going. It's been about 30 minutes. About 15 minutes in, I bumped the temp up to 450 because we weren't quite getting the browning that I was wanting. Let's take a look now. We are ripping. There's what we want to see. Man, that is hot. I just burned some. As you guys can see, I have less hair on my arm than I did. But here's the thing. What we're looking for, in addition to this browning on the top, is an internal temp right in the middle. The lowest temp I want to see is 120 to 125. Let's check. 119, 118. So we're almost there. Let's let it brown for another 2 minutes and pull it off. Whew. I think it's time to pull it off. Let's see. Beautiful. Let's see if I can get this off with 12 liners. Nope, need something else. But see how jiggly this is? That's what we want to see. Here you see there's a little crack that's formed right here. That's completely normal. As this settles down, that crack will seal up a little bit, and it's not the end of the world. What we want is even browning. So if I did this again on the smoker, I'd probably choose as a start temperature 425, 430, and then I think we'd get just a little bit darker brown, but still, this is very nice, especially for something cooked live fire. While this is sitting at room temp, the center is going to keep going up in temperature. It's going to be carryover cooking, much like you'd get with a big piece of meat. So already in the first couple minutes that this has been off, the lowest temp I can find went from 124 to 135. The final temp in the middle we're expecting is about 150. So that is going to give us exactly that custard-like texture in the center that makes it so, so special. But room temp for an hour or two, then in the fridge overnight, let all the flavors marry together. And tomorrow, I'll show you exactly how it should be served to be authentic, and then a way that I like to serve it, just because I love peach compote. I'll show you how to make it. So why does this carry over so much? Let me show you. I'll temp from the outside. It's 175 out there, 125 in the middle. Things kind of equilibrate. This ends up being about 150. Perfect custard-like texture. So trust the process and check your temps. Get a thermopen. You'll know exactly what the temps are. You don't have to be guessing, because exactly how much it should jiggle, I don't know how to tell you, but I can tell you, look for 125 and you'll get it right every single time. All right, guys, it's the next day, except it's not the next day. When we finished the cheesecake video last time, it was high fives all the way around. We're like, it's so delicious, nailed it, loved it. We had some technical issues. We have to do this again. But we did the exact same recipe, except this time, instead of making a peach compote, I made a cherry compote. You guys will see that I made a few different varieties of this, and I think cherry compote is my favorite. The basic process for that is cherries, plus some sugar, plus some lemon juice, and then added a little bit of vanilla extract and some lemon zest. You kind of adjust it until you dial it into exactly what you want. But that's not the focus right now. The focus is on the cheesecake. Let's get this out of the pan and slice it up and see what we got. Looks good. Ooh, that looks really good. Nice. Pro tip before you slice the cheesecake, if you heat up your knife, you get cleaner slices. So I'm just gonna put this over here, wait till it gets hot. All right, I think it's hot. Let's see. That's pretty good. Beautiful custard-like middle, browned top. This is exactly what we're looking for. Now that we took out our first slice, I'm going to show you how you can do a test to see if you got the right texture. From the slice, it looks like we got exactly the texture that we want, but let's cut halfway through. A little bit of sizzle. So if you guys look at this, the very center really is like a custard, but the test you can always do is this. Take your cheesecake, it holds together, but you can scoop out the center just like this. It's like the most delicious custard in the whole world. I can't wait. Man, creme brulee and cheesecake had a baby. Oh, that's so good. All right, I'm gonna cut another slice. We'll serve one in a Lavinia style, and I'll show you how to do it with the cherry compote. Up to you what you choose, both delicious. Now the two ways that we can serve this, one is the very traditional way. So here we have some Pedro Ximenez sherry. That's my best attempt at doing it the Spanish way, Pedro Ximenez. But it is a unique sherry. And so I have this, I don't have a sherry glass, but I have a little bourbon snifter, and that's gonna work for us here. But it's very sweet. Smells like toffee, caramel, molasses. Almost smells a little bit like a very dark beer, like an imperial stout or something like that. Believe it or not, this is a perfect match for the cheesecake. It might be counterintuitive, like why are you putting wine on a cheesecake? Once you've tried it, you'll understand. So we'll take a little bit of this, pour it over the top. Here's the Lavinia way. All right, here we go. Just to show you again why it's special, you can get just the custardiness, but you got to get some of the browned top to really maximize the flavor. Let's try this out. Looking forward to this. It's the perfect match. More roasted notes, really kind of dark caramel type of flavor, matched with the sweetness, a little bit of lemon zest in the cheesecake, the vanilla. It is magical. So we got a couple half cherries, one whole cherry on the top, and then the cherry compote that we made. Like I said, very simple. Beautiful. I think I even prefer that. We have the vibrant flavor of the cherries. The lemon juice that we added adds some brightness that really counterbalances the richness of the cheesecake. If I'm serving this cheesecake, I'm probably gonna offer it both ways. This is so, so good. I love cherry cheesecake. This is kind of, I don't know, maybe a reminder of my childhood, so I just love it. But both are excellent ways, and here's the beautiful thing. It's basically 5 ingredients and 2 temperatures, 420, 120. If you can remember those 5 ingredients and those 2 temperatures, you can make killer cheesecake without a water bath, without taking all kinds of pains. It's awesome. I would highly suggest that you do it. There's a reason that this recipe was invented in the 1990s and then spread around the entire world, and it's reverberating around the world again, and it probably will again in a couple of years. It is that good, and it is that simple and that easy to do. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit the like button down below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I had a blast making this, and I gotta say that this is some of my very best work when it comes to cooking anything. So if you want to follow me on all of their social media, you can follow me at Mad Scientist Barbecue. And to those of you who've been watching Pitmasters on Food Network, thank you very much for the support, and I'll see you guys next time. Hunter, Emma, you guys want to give this a shot?
Yeah!
All right, try it. Go for it.
It looks so good.
Do you like cheesecake?
Yes. You can get it.
There you go.
It's so good. I'm gonna bite.
You like it? Would you keep eating it? You guys are gonna eat this whole thing. Is that good?